What's up, everybody? Rants and Reviews here with an emergency podcast. Danny Ainge retires before this team literally gives him another heart attack. And Stevens fired with a promotion? What to make of it all? And predictions for what's next. So let's get into it. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've seen the crazy news in Celtics Nation that Danny Ainge is stepping down. He is retiring, stepping away from his job as GM of the Boston Celtics. And even more shocking than that, Brad Stevens is taking his place. If you were able to see the press conference for this, it was so uncomfortable, worse than a blind date. The body language and the answers to most of these questions were less than convincing. But basically, let's break it down step by step. Danny Ainge stepping down from his GM role was the first domino to fall. And it seems as if it was his decision, that he wasn't actually fired or pushed out. And I do mostly believe that. I do think there was a lot of pressure on him after his comments about racism in Boston, fair or not. But yeah, I believe a lot of the reasons that he's given for him stepping down. He's 62 years old, I think. He had a heart attack 2 years ago, and it was time. He's old, and being around this team sucks. You know, talking about how Boston isn't racist and then being painted as a villain sucks. And I genuinely think that he felt like if he had to continue watching this team play basketball, that they were going to give him another heart attack and he was going to drop dead. So he decided that it's time to go. Now, after he decides that it's time to go, Brad Stevens steps into that role, which is shocking to say the least. But before we even get into that, let's get a little bit of respect for Danny Ainge. I have had a tumultuous relationship with him over the last 18 years that he's been the GM of the Boston Celtics. He's made some incredible moves and he's made some really bad moves. But I think if you looked at his tenure overall as a whole, you would have to say that he did a really, really good job with the Boston Celtics and the culture and the environment that he created. I think there was a stat somewhere that the Celtics made the playoffs like 15 out of his 18 seasons with the team as the GM. So, you know, while a lot of people wanted to see him go and it might be the right move for now, let's not forget that he was a big part of our success in the past. So now the big shocking part of this is Brad Stevens stepping into the role of head of basketball operations with no experience whatsoever. Can he do it? Maybe. He's a smart guy. He's got a basketball mind, but I seriously doubt that he is going to be successful at this. It's a different job. Like, my dad is an amazing carpenter, but that doesn't mean he wants to be an architect. Like, just because they are both familiar with how houses are built, it's not the same thing. Let's not get it twisted. First of all, Brad has been fired. So you're going to see all this PR crap from Wick about how, oh, we had this plan all along. Brad, we talked about it. Brad, wanted this. Brad got fired. They just repurposed him. And there's two major reasons why he got repurposed into this role. The first reason, and I genuinely believe this, that Wick likes Brad. I think, they've been working together for 8 years or so. And I think they have a really strong relationship. I think he trusts Brad Stevens. I think he likes Brad Stevens. And I think that he genuinely believes that Brad can be successful in this role. But the second reason is just as important, and that is that he owes Brad Stevens a lot of money. I think it's like $30 million or something after the extension last year. And you know how rich people love their money. And I am 100% sure that that is a major part of this decision, that they knew that they needed to get off from Brad Stevens as the coach. They needed to make a change, but Wick wasn't willing to eat all of that money. So he just said, okay, well, let's just move him into this role where I do think he can do well. Wick thinks he can do well. And then I won't have to lose all that money. But if you watch that press conference, I mean, it is so uncomfortable. Brad Stevens is a basketball coach. His dream was to coach in the NBA and to lead a team to the title. His dream was not to become GM. So, this is being spun a certain way, but let's not get it twisted. Brad lost his job and Danny Ainge retired. So that's that's where the Celtics are at right now. It's a bit of a disaster. And I don't think that Brad Stevens is the right man for the job. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. He's an incredibly intelligent guy and, he's definitely going to give it his best, but I don't think he has the right personality and makeup, which is kind of ironic considering that was a common complaint about him as a coach. But when you look at a successful GM, Danny Ainge previously, Daryl Morey, Pat Riley, you need to be daring. You need to be bold. You need to be heartless at times. You need to be conniving sometimes, manipulative, intelligent, and charming. You know, I don't know if Brad has any of those qualities other than intelligence. He's close with all of these players. He's been working with them for years. And now he has to be the guy who's going to trade them or cut them or decide on contracts. How's he going to do that? Like this is why they so often say when you're the boss that you're not supposed to become friends with your employees because it clouds your vision. It makes it more difficult for you to lead them. And I think this is even more true of the GM role than the coaching role, because the GM role, you literally hold players' futures in your hands. And if you are emotionally attached to them, I'm not sure how you make the right decisions about their futures. So that part of it really concerns me. The personnel side of it, which seems like it would be his strength, knowing the personnel, knowing what the team needs, I'm worried about that as well, because that was one of the major issues with Brad as a coach this year was his rotation and the players that he committed to and trusted. We're supposed to trust the guy who thought Shemi Ojale deserved to be on the floor, the guy who thought Jeff Teague should play over Peyton Pritchard, the guy who thought Tristan Thompson should play over Rob Williams. This is the guy that's now going to be in charge of roster and personnel decisions. I don't know. It's a really weird thing happening right now. We have all this change happening. Danny Ainge out, Brad into the front office, but at the same time, Mike Zarin apparently is staying on. Austin Ainge apparently is staying on. So while Brad is now apparently calling the shots, all of Danny Ainge's people are still there. So is it a big change? It is, but at the same time, the culture itself isn't changing. It's a mess. I wish we could have, if we were really going to shake things up, I wish we could have done something like what the Knicks did, where they brought in this former agent that has relationships with all of these players. And, that's really where the NBA is heading. It's a players league. Players want to play with other players, and agents know what players like what players and have relationships with players. And, I'm just not sure that it feels like the Celtics are old fashioned and a bit out of touch here. Now, moving on to the coaching aspect of this, because obviously now that Brad is in the front office, the Celtics are in the market for a new coach. So first of all, I just want to address this. Stop saying Kevin Garnett. For anybody out there that keeps saying Kevin Garnett's name, just shut up. Shut up. Use your brain. Think about it. Think about it for a second. Why? Why would Kevin Garnett, who's just living the dream, retired, got money, does whatever he wants, why would he want to be trapped on a plane with this team, coaching this team, telling them to play defense, having them not listen? Are you kidding me? 0% chance. Not interested. I'm not saying he's not the right guy for the job. I'm saying that you might as well try to hire Lance Armstrong, Bo Jackson, Abraham Lincoln. It's literally impossible. Never going to happen. So just stop it. If you want to talk crazy, you want crazy ideas, here's a crazy idea. Make Kemba Walker the next coach of the Boston Celtics, because that's the only way you're getting off that horrible, horrible contract. So, what are some of the names that are floating around? Jason Kidd? No. Lloyd Pierce? No. Kenny Atkinson? This name I actually like, but no. The Celtics, this is the dumbest thing ever, but the Celtics are not going to hire a white person. I'm sorry, I said it. They're not. This is just what's happening in the league right now, and especially in Boston, the most racist city on earth, the most racist basketball team that just happened to draft the first black player and have the first black starting five in the NBA and have the first black head coach. But we're very, very racist. So we need to hire a black coach for PR reasons. So no Kenny Atkinson. Mark Jackson, there goes my man. Please, God, no. So here are some of the names that have been kind of sort of floated around that I do like. Juwan Howard, who I don't think we can get because I think he's quite happy with his job at Michigan. Sam Cassell, who obviously won a ring here in Boston. Chauncey Billups has some, has a good reputation as a player, somebody the players might listen to. And Kara Lawson and Becky Hammond, both female coaches. Kara Lawson previously with the Boston Celtics, Becky Hammond, I think, an assistant with the San Antonio Spurs. I'm cool with all of these names. Basically, just bringing in a black person, a former player, someone the players that like and respect. Kara Lawson, in particular, I think is really interesting because she was with the team previously, and apparently the Jays both really love her, have a very good relationship with her. So keeping the Jays happy is probably what this boils down to. So if they want Kara and they like Kara, and then we could hire the first female coach, then we can just give the double birds to all these people who keep talking about Boston as this horrible, horrible city. So those are names that I think are interesting. Honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen next. Things are pretty wild in the Celtics world right now, but I just wanted to react to what happened with Danny stepping down, with Brad stepping in, and what coaches we might be looking at. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on Rants and Reviews.